Assalamualaikum. Hope you all are good. Today the topic that we are going to discuss is W.B. Yeats, William Butler Yeats, born in 1865 and died in 1939. A modernist poet, a very famous and popular poet, also known as an Irish poet of modern era, of modern age, and of England, of course. W.B. Yeats is often regarded as a bridge between Romanticism and modernism. While his early work was rooted in Romanticism, his later poetry exhibits modernist characteristics. That's why he used to be called a bridge between Romanticism and modernism, because his early works based on Romanticism. He wrote many romantic poets, but later in his life he started writing many modernist uh, poems. Sorry. And some of the reasons why he is considered as a modernist poet, there were some reasons, or some major reasons that made him very modernist poet and also as a Irish poet. William Butler Yeats, born in 1865, as I told you, and died in 1939. His John Butler Yeats, 1839 and 1922, and Jack Butler Yeats, on Through the Silent Lands by Jack Yeats, a image, a poem, My Beautiful, 1953, some of the works. Then, if we talk about his personal life, Yeats fell in love with Maud Gonne, a supporter of violent revolution. In 1897-1988, he joined Irish Republican Brotherhood to impress her. As I've told you before, W.B. Yeats was also considered an Irish poet, and you can see one of the major reasons was that some of the images of Maud Gonne. She was very much impressed by W.B. Yeats' works, but she rejected many of W.B. Yeats' proposals. She was the love of his life. If we talk about his W.B. Yeats, why he is considered a modernist poet, first I will talk about experimentation with form. That was one of the major characteristics of modern age, of modern era. Yeats abandoned traditional forms and explored new ways of expressing himself, such as using free verse and fragmented structure, one of the major basic quality of modern era. Then symbolism and imagery. Yeats employed symbols and imagery to convey complex ideas and emotions, which is a hallmark of modernist poetry. Then, of course, conscious, subconscious, very important technique, you can say, of modern age. He was very much interested in subconscious concept. Yeats explored the realm of subconscious mythology. He abundantly used myths in his poems, mythology and the collective unconscious, reflecting modernist interest in psychology and the human psyche. And he also rejected the Victorian values, although he was born in 1865, but he rejected the modern Victorian values. Yeats rejected the moral certainties and social conventions of the Victorian era because he was embracing a more individualistic and relativistic worldview. Individualism or individualistic was also one of the major character of modern age. Many of the poets, many of the writers used to show this character in their works, the individualism. Then he was the emphasis on the individual. He emphasized on individual personality, on individual nature, you can say, as of the many writers of that age. Then uh, and there is a picture of Easter 1916, and as I told you that he became the poet of Irish, or national poet of Ireland, because he wrote many poems on Ireland and on Ireland independence, because Ireland was at that time of the what you can say, it was occupied by Great Britain at that time. And that is why he said, at the moment I feel that all the work of years has been overturned, all the bringing together of classes, are all the freeing of Irish literature and criticism for politics. Then he also used many of allusions and fragmentation in his work. Yeats incorporated allusions to mythology, history, and literature, and fragmented narratives, characteristics of the modernist poetry, of course. So I mentioned some of the major modernist characteristics related to W.B. Yeats, which was considered, which was present in W.B. Yeats' works, and also it was a major characteristics of modernist poet, as why W.B. Yeats is considered a modernist poet. As you can see, some of the things are written on the slide. That woman, death and committed. This man had kept a school. Patrick Pills. These some of the lines of that age. This other 1923, he won a Nobel Prize for Literature as well, and he died in 1893. He is buried in Sligo in France. June 13th, as you can see, the tomb of W.B. Yeats. Cast a cold eye or life on death. Occurrences passed by W.B. Yeats. Some of the modernist poems by W.B. Yeats include one of the famous poem, The Second Coming. Hope you guys have read it. The Wild Swans at Cool, Easter 1916, that we will discuss today. The Tower, A Vision. While Yeats' modernism was unique and evolved over time, his poetry, innovative style, themes, and experimentation align with the modernist movement's spirits, because it was his work that aligned with the modern. Although he wrote many romantic poems, but he became very much famous because of his modernist movement ideologies and his favor of being a national poet for Ireland. Rebellion of the Society of United Irishmen, founded in Belfast in 1791 by Theobald Wolfe. The ideals of the society were based on those of the French Revolution. It is talking about Ireland. The society was at that time developed into Irish republicanism, defending total separation from England. The society led a rebellion in 1798 supported by the French. French was supporting Ireland because, of course, France was also the enemy of England at that time. The rebellion failed. The rebels who were captured were publicly hanged, and hundreds more left the country at that time and the time of Ireland. And you can see the picture. Is a depiction in the picture where you can see two different countries are fighting with each other for the independence. Ireland was fighting for their independence, or that's why the word is used, rebellions, because they became rebellious towards England. That which happened in South Asia as well, and they showed rebellions towards England, but the rebellions failed, and the rebels who were captured at that time were publicly hanged by the English people. And you can see Irish is today now a part of England, or you can say a part of United Kingdom, but at that time it was a country occupied by England. Actually, during W.B. Yeats' lifetime, 1865 to 1939, Ireland's relationship with England was complex, and some of the issues were home rule. Ireland sought self-governance while England resisted, leading to tensions and rebellions. Ireland wanted their independence, they wanted to self-govern their own country, but while England resisted it. Then land ownership. English landlords controlled much of Ireland's land, causing resentment among Irish tenants. Then national identity. Ireland sought to assert its culture and national identity separate from England. They wanted their culture, their identity, their country separated from England. They uh, wanted a separate country and separate culture and ethnicity. Then religious issue. Tensions between Catholic Ireland and Protestant England contributed to the divide, because the more of the Irish people were Catholic at that time, and the England people were Protestant, and it was a very big issue, big major issue of that time, of that age, especially in Renaissance age. In this age, it was become a very popular issue at that time, you can say. Then political unrest became happen. Unrest events like Easter Rising, which we will read on the poem Easter 1916. This poem is on an event, of course. So events like Easter Rising and the Irish War of Independence, which happened in 1919 to 1921, marked a surge in nationalist sentiment and violence. Many of the Irish people become nationalist, and they showed very much. violence. As you can see, 1801 Act of Union, the act abolished the separate Irish Parliament. Ireland was annexed to Great Britain under the name of the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Ireland. The United lasted from 1801 to 1921, which is considered UK. So Ireland was part of that act, which is called 1801 Act of Union. Anglo-Irish Protestant land-wing ascendancy was versus Irish Catholic peasant majority. As you can see, Irish Catholic peasant majority. Then Yeats and cultural suppression, of course. English culture and English language dominated, suppressing Irish language and traditions. They were suppressing Irish languages, their traditions, like they suppressed our language, our tradition, our culture. This same thing happened with the Ireland or Irish people. Yeats' poetry often reflected these tensions, exploring themes like Irish identity and nationalism. But in fact, we'll move towards a poem of today's poem, Easter 19, which was written on an event which happened in Ireland on 1916. He wrote a poem on that event. Yeats' poetry often reflected tensions, exploring themes, because he became a national poet of Ireland. So he wrote many poems in the favor of Ireland and their struggles and their wars, of course, you can say. Uh, and most of his works, in most of his poems, you can see some of the major themes, which is Irish identity and nationalism, because he became also nationalist. W. Yeats also become a nationalist. Then the struggle for independence, they wanted a separated country, they were struggling continuously for independence from England. Then the conflict between tradition and modernity, they wanted to acquire their own tradition. The role of history and mythology in shaping Ireland's future. And some of the notable poems which are addressing these issues related Ireland are include the poem that we are going to read, Irish 1916, The Second Coming, September 1913, To Ireland in the Coming Times, The Wild Swans at Cool. Yeats' work captures the essence of Ireland's relationship with England during this period, making him a key voice in Irish literary history. Some of the words that are mentioned in your slide, these are some of the words that are present in the poem Easter 19. I just mentioned few difficult words. As you can see, vivid, very clear, motley, consisting of many different types and therefore appearing strange or low quality when you're going to read the poem. It's a very big poem, very large poem, very lengthy. Some of the words you can see will be very much difficult, so you can read the meanings from this slide. Why was this poem written? If we talk about, as I told you, and I guess now you guys have some idea, Easter 1916 describes Yeats' sentiments concerning the Easter uprising staged in Ireland against Britain rule on Easter Monday, April 24, 1916. He knew all the people who took part in it because he belongs to Ireland. The poem is a eulogy for the lives of the last revolutionaries and for all that Ireland suffered during and after that rebellion. And suffered during after that rebellion, which took 490 lives, not including the 14, including the 4 men named in this poem, who were executed after that rebellion. Some of the people who got caught in the rebellion, as I've discussed before, they hanged them publicly. England hanged them publicly, and he mentioned those 4 people in his poem. So 490 people were killed at that time. And as you can see, it is written, the poem is a eulogy for the lives. It means a poem which is in kind of a speech or a tribute to praise or to honors who has died. So this kind of poem or this form, you can say, is a style which is written for the public, for the persons, uh, to to show tribute or to praise someone, or to celebrate their achievements, their legacy, and provide comfort and support to those who are grieving. And this term comes from Greek word, of course. The poem is made of 88 lines divided in 4 stanzas, and as I have told you, it's a very lengthy poem. In stanza 1, it describes the casual friendship Yeats enjoyed with the revolutionaries. Then in second stanza, he describes the lives of the acquaintances involved, because he knows those people personally. In, in stanza 3, Yeats comforts himself and his reader with the thought that all life is fleeting. And in stanza 4, Yeats questions the very fact that he is celebrating, and it ends with the ambiguous note. Was it needless death after all? It's a very ambiguous note. In the last was that if the deaths were needless or something will happen. But this poem is considered a very famous poem by W.B. Yeats, and these are the four stanzas consisting of 88 lines. I mean, a very lengthy poem, but when you're gonna read, you will find some difficult words, but I have wrote some meanings of I mentioned some difficult words in the previous slide. Hope you will see and hope you got it what we studied today.